Ready. Play.
Ta-da! I was hidden behind the Talking Tennis logo. Talking of places to hide, there was no place to hide for players such as Matteo Berrettini today, who lost in 4 sets to Carlos Alcaraz. Also on the wrong end of a defeat was, I guess there's no right end of a defeat, right? Matteo Berrettini, I've mentioned him. Stefanos Tsitsipas, as I trip over my words, which I'm sure Nick and Myles will not be doing when they join you very shortly. What other results have occurred today? Yeah, so Christopher Eubanks upsetting Stefanos Tsitsipas in 5 sets. We got a walkover for Daniil Medvedev, where he was already 2 sets to love up, of course, on his opponent, who was Lehecka. And the other men's match today that I can recall, at least off the top of my head, was Novak Djokovic. Of course, you should be saying, John, why are you doing it from the top of the head when there's a thing called the internet where you can just check it out there? Well, that's what I'm going to do right now. We had Novak Djokovic, of course, prevailing in 4 sets, as it turned out, over Kurkacz. He did lose the first set of today because, of course, that rolled over from last night. Yeah, let's get some of these scores up for you on the screen here. Hopefully you can see them. For some reason, I have disappeared. No, that's good. I'm not disappeared. I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's get some of these matches up for you on the screen. So hopefully you can see them. I will present it to you right now. So yeah, we had Djokovic winning in 4 sets today, as I highlighted. Let me know in the live chat your thoughts on some of these results. Alcaraz, they're winning in 4 sets over Berrettini. On the women's side, the first match we had underway today was Madison Keys against Mirra Andreeva. Madison Keys gets an early break. What a roller coaster of a match this was, by the way. Only lasted in 2 hours, or just a smidgen over 2 hours. But Madison Keys getting the early break, I think it was in the first game of the match, and you thought, uh-oh, for Andreeva. Uh-oh, not at all for her. She breaks back very quickly and, in fact, gets a break of her own and goes on to win the first set. She then goes an early break up in the second set. And now we're all thinking, uh-oh, for Madison Keys, especially when she was facing 2 break points on her serve at 1-4 in the second set. She held serve, the American. She then goes on to break Andreeva's serve and end up winning that second set in a tiebreak and ultimately winning the match in the third set, 6-2. The match wasn't without its controversy, though. Andreeva getting a penalty point. I thought it was quite harsh in the third set for letting go, I would suggest, albeit somewhat theatrically, of her racket. It was the second such infringement in the match, obviously having had a much more convincing slam of the racket, shall we say, earlier in the match. And as a result, she got a penalty point in the decisive game at the end of the match, which Keys managed to win. I think it's the first time Madison Keys been in the quarterfinals at Wimbledon since 2015. I'm sure the boys will correct me if I'm wrong. Rune threw in what's been described as a crazy 4-set thriller over Grigor Dimitrov. It was a pretty dramatic one as well. What any other matches I've missed? Of course, on the women's side. Oh, we've had plenty of matches on the women's side that I've already skipped over. Let's see if I can get some of these up for you on the screen. Actually, let's get some scores and schedule. That's probably a pretty useful one to click on. Perhaps results. That may well help. Yes, here we go. So we've got Jabeur, of course, winning in straight sets. 6-love, 6-3 over Petra Kvitova. Pretty crazy. For those of you wondering where are Nick and Myles, they are en route. In the meantime, you can get in the live chat, pose your thoughts, pose your questions. Hi, Aryna. Nice to see you. I'm just here for the introductory moments. As you can see, nice to hear from you as well in the live chat as well. And, of course, Ghosty as an unsurprising guest. Always invited, never surprising. Ghosty there in the chat, and Aryna too, and I'm sure there's many others as well jumping on board. Make sure you hit the like button, and if you are new to us, subscribe. Back to some of the results from today. I pretty much covered all the men's matches, but yeah, Jabeur winning in straight sets. I thought that was going to be a close one. An hour and 3 minutes. I know Nick was covering that on the live comms, saying that Kvitova maybe wasn't looking as fantastic on the movement today. I'm not sure if she was injured at all, but certainly Jabeur was pushing her left, right, and center all over the court, and is a deserved quarterfinalist for the 3rd year running. A bit of a damp squib. Of course, we had 2 retirements today. I mentioned Berrettini. So I mentioned Medvedev winning over an opponent in Lehecka today who retired with what appeared to be a blister, albeit the Medvedev was 2 sets to love up. A much earlier match in terms of the retirement was after just 27 minutes between Elena Rybakina and Beatrice Haddad-Maia. I think it was a back injury for Beatrice Haddad-Maia. A pity for her after her really good run in Paris, almost mirroring it at Wimbledon, but going out in the 4th round. Rybakina goes through, where she will play on Jabeur in the quarterfinal in a repeat of last year's final, ladies and gentlemen, not semi-final. Alexandrova lost in straight sets to Sabalenka. How impressed were you with Aryna today in that particular encounter? I didn't catch it. And I think I've pretty much covered all the men's matches. And of course, I touched on Madison Keys over Andreeva in probably, at least on the women's side, was match of the day. On the men's side, though, almost certainly, I think everyone would circle Christopher Eubanks in that match of the day, the 27-year-old reaching the quarterfinals at Wimbledon for the first time in his career. He's never been this deep at a slam before. Stefanos Tsitsipas has on many occasions, but he was on the wrong end of that defeat in 5 sets today. And really, Tsitsipas leading 2 sets to 1. We thought this is probably done. I think Eubanks was also a breakup and ceding that advantage in the 5th set. But Eubanks came back. Another mistake there. You can tick off. For every mistake you hear, I would like you to hit the like button. You can only do it once, I know, most of you, but make sure you do hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. I'll wheel in Nick. Nick can maybe come and answer some of your questions in the live chat. And then I'll wheel in Myles as well. Saroja, I'm probably saying your name wrong. Nice to have you on board. Asking about predictions. We'll probably get to that at the end of the show. But let's have Nick maybe come and answer some of these. Let's have Nick sharing his thoughts anyway on anything that I've sort of brought up already, Nick.
Well, look, let's face it. I commentated on most of those matches. I think the only one I didn't actually commentate on were Alcaraz Berrettini and Rune Dimitrov. Pretty good summary. It's good to know that if anyone wants to do a drinking game to John's coverage, they could easily do that.
Have a sip of drink every time I make a mistake.
Yeah, have a sip of drink if I say something particularly British. That seems to be my reputation. Look, I think we'll probably I'd like to save my thoughts on the lot of the thoughts maybe when Myles gets here, but I'm loving the welcome reception I'm getting from the chat from Jake and Elena. But I think let's answer the questions we are getting in whilst Myles is coming. So
I mean, here's a generic point from Ghosty. What have you made of today and the tournament in its quality of matches so far? As soon as Myles gets here, we'll go specific on some of the matches from today.
I think this has been one of the, I love Wimbledon, but I have to say, I think this is the best Wimbledon I can think of for a while in terms of barnstormer after barnstormer every single day.
I completely agree, but I just think we need a couple of finals to do it justice as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I felt that way about maybe the US Open last year or the year before. No, last year. There was a tournament that
both the last 2 US Opens have been phenomenal, but maybe we had an unbelievable narrative with not just Raducanu, but even to
which was a great final actually.
It was a good final, even if it was straight sets. We had the narrative of Djokovic on the men's side in that particular year, but it probably wasn't as dramatic a final as we could have seen. And then I guess to some extent last year, both finals were good, but not amazing. They were both pretty close and just a couple of points in a way, either way from going into a deciding set. But yeah, I think you need to have a really good final. My favorite
to be a really memorable Wimbledon,
soccer or football World Cup ever was '86. Now I'm old enough to remember it, But not only did you have some barnstorming matches, 4-all, 4-3, 3-3, you had unbelievable goals and memories. You also had a final to match. I'm going to go into the background and I'll let you and Myles discuss both some of the things I just said, but also day 8 at Wimbledon.
It's day 8. Do you know what? I've lost count of what day it is as well. This is a very weird time for me, especially since I'm not doing my regular job. And so I've got no idea what's happening. It's going to be very weird when I have to go back to work next week and there's no tennis.
It happens to the best of us. And I feel like it's a great time to happen during the Grand Slam,
Oh, for sure. I mean, I genuinely have taken 2 weeks off my regular job just so I can binge Wimbledon.
Hey, I feel like more people should do that.
Yeah. I mean, we get more time off in the UK than I think you do in America. But
everything about the UK sounds better than America sometimes. So
maybe everything.
A good portion.
There we go. All right. Well, we're going to have quite a bit. John will probably throw some questions at us from the audience as we go. But I think let's settle down and have a look at these results. Hello. And Myles is waving to his fans. All of them. They always show up when he comes. You just wait for the groupies to show up, then it gets awkward.
Wait, did Ghosty change his name, or is there a new Ghost?
Ghosty has changed his name.
Okay.
Do you know who James Hunt is? He is a British Formula One driver from the 1970s who I mentioned on a stream at one point. And Ghosty thought he sounded like an amazing person. Has clearly done his research and has changed his username to market. So James, I mean, have you seen the movie Rush?
Rush?
Yes.
No,
with
but
Chris
it reminded
Hemsworth
me.
And Daniel Bruhl.
No, but that title just reminded me of one of my favorite movies, Speed, with Keanu Reeves and
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock. Yes.
Great movie. Really enjoy that movie as well. But Rush is a film about James Hunt and Niki Lauda and the rivalry they had in Formula One, which came to a head in 1976 for the World Championship between the two of them. And it was one of the closest championships in the history of the sport. And what marked it was how different they were as drivers and athletes. Lauda was a very calculated person. He everything he did had a percentage risk to it. James Hunt was a reckless, drive as fast as I can kind of guy, in life and in a car, as the film definitely shows. I would say it's a great sports movie if you want to watch it, even if you're not that interested in Formula One. It gives you an idea of what it was like in the 1970s, but also it's a fun sort of contrast of styles. I don't know if we've ever had that in tennis, where we've had two athletes who had very different approaches to the sport being really close rivals.
You sure we haven't had that?
I mean, I don't know. Who could you think of?
Roger and Rafa.
Were they that okay? Very different stylistically. But if you got them into a conversation about tennis, would they say different things?
In that regard, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't feel like their personalities are vastly different. I think because I'm pretty sure Roger is a Leo and Rafa is a Taurus. And I think those two things go together zodiacally. Whatever. You know what I mean?
Actually, Ghost has actually named McEnroe and Borg. That's the obvious one. Why did I miss that? That's the obvious.
We weren't born yet, Nick.
I mean, yeah, true. I think we were both born after they retired.
I think so. Yeah, I'm a 90s baby. So
yeah, same. So there we go. So there we go. McEnroe and Borg, the iconic tennis rivalry of like completely different takes on the sport. And they did make a movie of that as well, but a less good one. Right, shall we talk about actual tennis?
Let's get into it.
Okay. I think that we're gonna cover we've got a few matches to cover. We're going to cover all the headlines anyway. I think we should talk about the headline match of today, the biggest result. Chris Eubanks coming from 2-1 down to beat Stefanos Tsitsipas. You're laughing. I genuinely think that's the biggest result of the day.
No, I can see how you say that now, but I definitely thought you were going to go straight into Alcaraz and Berrettini. But I'm more than happy to talk about Eubanks and Stefanos Tsitsipas because I'm not sure I saw that result coming.
I thought it was possibly going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen when Tsitsipas went 2-1 up.
Exactly.
But the way Eubanks handled the situation, sets 4 and 5, was incredible. Just served so well, fended off everything Steph threw at him. And he is the first African-American man in a Wimbledon quarterfinal since Arthur Ashe in 1975.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Like,
Isabel, so actually I didn't realize this. I only found this out because Isabel said it on the stream because she was commentating. And alongside me. So I was keeping an eye on the women's match on court 1. She was keeping an eye on the Eubanks match. And she was very, very enthusiastic about the result as well. Like, unbelievably happy.
He has that kind of vibe that you just want to be happy for him. So I'm, like I said, happy for him.
So,
like, it's just easy. It's easy.
Absolutely brilliant. So but I was like, my reaction was, really? I can't believe there's not been an African-American man in the Wimbledon quarterfinals since. But Isabel texted me later on and said, yeah, no, I was right. And she was right.
Wait. Malavai Washington made the final in the 90s.
There we go. I didn't double check Isabel. I took her at her word. But yes, Malavai
he's only the third. He's only the third ever to do it. So yes, it's still a great achievement.
Yeah. So Eubanks is the third ever, right?
Yeah, and I'm not sure that I would have. I saw Chris possibly making that Cam Norrie match very difficult for Cam Norrie, and I'm glad he got that win. But I'm not sure I saw him deep into the second week, considering that he had just won his first title in Mallorca. And I feel like typically, if your first title coincides with the week before a major, I'm not sure how many people have actually continued that momentum, especially if you're somebody like Chris Eubanks, who has toiled and really put in work to get to the ATP level. I thought it might have been like a emotional, almost too much of an emotional high to come back down to play level-headed tennis. And his ability to do that over this 2-week stretch is pretty incredible, I have to say.
The reality is he's actually been growing in confidence from Miami onwards. Yeah. And this is going to do wonders for him. Did you watch any of that match?
Yes, I watched quite a bit of it. I watched enough of it to be very anxious when he hit a overhead that was more likely than not going out when trying to serve it out. And I was like, oh gosh, please don't let this be a huge signal of a choke. But he managed his nerves very well to pull out that win, the biggest win of his career. So more than happy for him. Yeah.
What was it? Because I was kind of glancing over, I couldn't really make much of a technical analysis because if you watch back the stream back, I'm literally trying to commentate on 3 different matches at the same time at one point. I'm commentating on Djokovic, Kurkacz, Alexandrova, Sabalenka, and Eubanks, Tsitsipas, and I'm literally jumping from match to match to match. I'm not entirely sure if the audience followed, but so I couldn't really do much of a technical analysis of it. Maybe you were too emotionally invested to do the same, but what did you notice about that match that made the difference?
From what my perspective is in a weird way, Eubanks actually brought Tsitsipas to net quite a bit. Or Tsitsipas, his objective was to get to net, maybe before Chris Eubanks did, because that's something that Chris Eubanks has excelled in. But both of them had some very brick and easy volleys that they missed. But I feel like Tsitsipas in the forecourt didn't really handle business the way Eubanks did in the more crucial points. And I feel like that played a point. And I also feel like Chris Eubanks served better. Not necessarily the more aces, but he got the best use out of his serve in the more crucial times in the match. So yeah, it was very competitive and it could have gone either way, but I feel like Eubanks just ripped the shots he was supposed to rip on the more crucial points because he's playing with so much confidence, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's probably what I agree with that assessment. Definitely the serve got him out of a lot of trouble. Isabel and I have been talking. We think Eubanks might actually be in the running for best single-handed backhand on the ATP Tour right now.
Right now, yes. In the past 2 weeks that I've been watching tennis, I have not seen anyone hit a one-handed backhand the way he has, especially off of return of serve. Like, that's usually the thing that one-handers struggle with, and they choose to just chip it, especially on a slicker surface like grass. And for him to just be like, no, we're not doing that with my backhand. We're going to come over it, and the way it just darts down the line is something to see, for sure.
Okay, well, his next opponent will be Max has just posted that I would get the reference. I think that's going to have to scroll back up in the chat to work it out. I'm not entirely sure I get the reference. You'll have to explain it to me, Max. But he's going to play Daniil Medvedev, who was very much in control of his match against Jiri Lehečka. Shahiri followed that for us. Lehečka was injured. There seemed to be some kind of issue with his foot, possibly some kind of blister. But Medvedev seemed very comfortable anyway, and for obvious reasons. Although he wasn't making the most of all his opportunities, but Lehečka was giving him just plenty enough that he eventually took them. That would be my perspective on that match. Throw in any thoughts you have in case you saw any of it. But how do you think Medvedev Eubanks might go, given how that Miami match went? And will grass make a difference?
I hope it makes a difference, because that Miami match was not very competitive. And I also feel, I think Chris might have had to qualify for that match, so that's an additional set of matches that he had to play to get to that quarterfinal, which means he probably won 7 in a row or something like that. But yeah, that match was interesting just because Medvedev was playing some of the best tennis I'd ever seen him play, and I feel like he's rounding into that kind of form now on the grass, just putting his racket on every single ball and then also dominating when he's given the opportunity or / feels like it. Because I feel like Medvedev does that sometimes. He just feels like playing differently, and he can, and he does. So, yeah, I think Eubanks, if he gets that to a tiebreak and pushes the issue going to net, hitting over his backhand on some second serve returns, definitely will give himself a shot. But I'm not sure that he's going to pick up the W. I'd love to see it, but I'm not sure he's going to pick up the W. I'd give the W to Medvedev.
Yeah, I think I probably agree with that, to be honest. Maybe Eubanks gets a set, but at some point, I think also the Eubanks might run out of gas, and especially with the way Medvedev plays, which is but we'll have to see. I think Medvedev is in the quarterfinals. It's overdue that he's in the quarterfinals of Wimbledon. He's much better on grass than people give him credit for. Surprisingly, when we did our pre-tournament picks, only Shahiri and I put him in our semi-finals, which I didn't realize until I was looking it all up today, which I was a little bit surprised about. It was only us two.
Maybe I actually think I had him losing to Mandarino, so I wasn't in the good favor.
I looked, yours were insane.
They often are. The chaos of me. If you give me a completely open draw, and I usually try to be more insane for the bigger draws like Masters 1000s and Grand Slams, somewhere in the midst of me picking stuff, I'm just like, oh, I want to see chaos. Give me the chaos. And that's what happens.
You are the only member of the popcorn talking tennis community who went for Alcaraz to win.
Oh, really?
Everyone else went for Djokovic or Murray.
Well, you knew I weren't going to do that, so not in my fantasy.
I mean, I know you definitely wouldn't go for Djokovic. I think it was someone else's fantasy for Murray, maybe. But yeah, and speaking of Alcaraz, I thought he dealt with Matteo Berrettini today very well. He did drop the first set, a little bit of a loose game in that one, but other than that, he was solid and had an answer to everything that Berrettini threw at him. Could even to the point where he was disrupting the Berrettini forehand.
And overhead.
Yeah, he was doing to Berrettini on grass what I've only seen Roger and Novak do. And I was very impressed with the way he handled it, because I did put that match on upset alert, and the way Berrettini started, I thought this is going to be interesting. But as the match wore on, it just became more and more clear Alcaraz was going to get it.
It's because of the legs that they both have, physically, and how they actually move on the court. I think Medvedev has, excuse me, not Medvedev. I think Alcaraz has a more solid base, and he's figured out how to take his more traditional movement on hard court and clay courts and put it toward grass courts, where I feel like Berrettini doesn't have nearly the amount of options on how to move, and he's just naturally not a great mover in and out of the corners. And anytime the point got to more east and west instead of north and south, it went to Alcaraz more times than not. The only thing that I was worried about, and I think the MD Terp and I were talking about it mid-match on Twitter, is that Alcaraz wasn't always taking advantage of the break points that he had been creating for himself. But I lean more on the side of happy that the person is creating the break points. It must be frustrating to not convert, but at least you're creating that many, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely crazy. And yeah, you've got to take the opportunities that you get, right? Because we've seen some matches where people just get opportunities and they don't convert. Sinner was in danger of doing that yesterday against Galan. I think there were other, just off the top of my head, that was the obvious one. I've seen some women's matches where that happens as well. But yeah, Alcaraz, maybe not super efficient, but he's had a couple of tough opponents recently. But
he should be match tough, I feel. You know, I feel like this is good for him. Better than his match toughness coming into the semifinals of the French, maybe, because he kind of breezed.
Yeah, that's fair. Which will prepare him very well for the matches to come. The next match to come is against someone else who may be match hardened. Holger Rune beating Grigor Dimitrov on court number 1 in a really good 4-set match, actually. I was trying to dual screen it, but I wasn't. I was watching a little bit of it. Dimitrov played really well. Like, he was taking it to Holger. He was a set and a break up. But again, as the match wore on, I just got more of a feeling that Holger's got this. And again, it was like watching Dimitrov against members of the Big Four, where he had the game to challenge them, but not necessarily enough to finish the job. And he was breaking down a little bit more than Rune was in the end, certainly by the 4th set. And Rune played a couple of really good tie breaks in the end. So really good win for Holger Rune, especially since I thought he might be struggling physically after that 5-setter he played with Davidovich Fokina. I still think physicality is going to be a problem dealing with one of the biggest physical challenges on tour, which is Carlos Alcaraz. But yeah, what were your thoughts on that Rune win?
I don't know if I can be completely objective, because I'm still a little hardened that Dimitrov beat Tiafoe the way he did.
Yeah.
But I am happy that Dimitrov put together a good performance in the very next match, because that also assures me that it wasn't just Tiafoe tanking or playing horribly in that match. It was Dimitrov actually showing a good level. And I didn't get to really put both of my good eyes on it because, well, first of all, my eyes are not that great anyway, because I wear really strong contacts. But I was more in tune with Alcaraz and Berrettini, and ESPN was doing the split screen coverage sometimes. So I saw some points from Rune that I was impressed by, and in general, I typically do find myself impressed with Rune, and I'm super excited that we get to see Rune and Alcaraz, I believe, for the first time on a Grand Slam stage. Yes. And I would like to see more of that. So
I think it's the first time they've played on the ATP tour outside the next gen.
I thought they played in either Basel or Paris. I could have sworn they played in an indoor tournament.
Oh no, they did. They played in Paris, but Alcaraz retired.
Yes, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the one that Rune went on to win.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because Matthew just brought it up in the comments. He said, just praying that Runa isn't depleted next round. Why do we worry so much about Runa's physics? I mean, I get it, a kind of rhetorical question, but it's interesting to me rather that we worry so much about his physicality. And isn't he just 20 years old?
He is 20 years old, but also like the history is there.
Yeah, the history is there. I just feel like, I don't know. 20-year-olds should be out there like just completely giving it their all because they're 20 years old. And what else? Like this, I would imagine that if they have a good system around them, they should be thinking longevity in tennis to get as much as they can out of the sport that they chose and the profession that they chose. But also equally, like you should be going out there and being able to like fight until 5 hours because you are 20 and you have the legs and lungs of a 20-year-old. So I don't know. Hopefully that wins out and he's not tired. Because if he gets tired now, like what's going to happen when he's 26? Like is he gonna get more hardened physically, or is he just gonna get more like taxed? You know? I wonder.
I do know what you mean. I think his physicality will improve with age, as it naturally does with everyone. I mean, like look at Alcaraz; he's not exactly perfect. Like okay, he looks it, but you know, he does have some injury problems. He did cramp in Roland Garros. It's no guarantee. I think with Runa, I think we'll probably stop asking the questions if he doesn't struggle physically against Alcaraz. If he gives it his all and there's no issues.
It might be a little gamesmanship in there. It might be a little gamesmanship in there because I feel like if he comes up against Alcaraz in a Grand Slam, he's really going to want to win that match. And let's just say I'll be surprised if there's never a call out of the physical trainer or doctor.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that. But it's not just Grand Slams as well. Like he did run out of gas in those 2 clay finals he played this year against Rublev and Medvedev.
Yeah, very true.
So we'll have to see. I think if he's got anything physically, he's gonna throw everything he can at Alcaraz and make it a good match. And I think the crowds are going to get very excited for the next generation, which Wimbledon are doing very well at promoting at the minute.
They are. I actually they got me to get in tune with whatever music they were using in their hold on, let me think about the branding. Promo. As always, like never before.
Yes.
I enjoyed that trailer quite a bit, and yes. I enjoyed the song that goes along with it.
They did it. Yeah, they have done a fantastic job. I think because they know that Serena's gone and Rafa's on his way out, Roger's gone, Novak probably got a couple of years left in him. They need to start promoting the next stars. I'm going to ignore that, I think that letting people know, hey, these are the people you're going to be seeing for a few more years. Your Swiatek's, your Rybakinas, your Alcaraz, Runa, Sinner. They're going to be around. So start getting to know them. What do you make of them really pushing Coco Gauff? Obviously, as a Gauff fan, loving it. But as I suspect, I mean, like I like Gauff as well. Probably not as much as you do. But how do you feel about that, given the context of Gauff at Wimbledon and maybe being a little bit vulnerable, and it's kind of all being based off that amazing run she had as a 15 and a 17-year-old?
I think it's fine to base it off of that run, honestly. I mean, that's where the world got to know her, and whenever we're talking about her, we likely go back to that moment where she beat Venus and went on to go to the 4th round. So I don't mind it, and it's not like they're pulling her out from unseated to posters on along the walls. Like, she's still a top 10 player, has made a Grand Slam final in the past 12 or so months, has just made a quarterfinal. Like, she's a relevant player to use as marketing. And I feel like people that just give her a down, like, oh, she's never even made the quarters of Wimbledon. Well, let's see if your favorite has done that as well. And if they have, then maybe wonder why your favorite isn't getting that marketing spot. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, probably true. Maybe it's probably a bit soon to make Mirra Andreeva the face, but Coco Gauff, definitely, I agree. I think those 2 last 16 runs were very good indicator. And let's face it, her losses at Wimbledon have been to players having very, very good days. If you look at Halep, Kerber, Anisimova, and then Kenin this year, They were all kind of
all of
tough
those
draws.
players. All of those players, except maybe Anisimova, is like one spot off from being top 20 at least, and all of them have made a Grand Slam semi. So all of them know how to play at that stage.
All of them have won Grand Slams,
except
apart from
Anisimova. Yeah,
Anisimova could have won
She
the
could
French.
have. She could have. Yeah. So I don't think there's anything to hold her head on. And it was nice to see her in the crowd actually supporting Chris Eubanks, because she could have been doing anything else that she wanted to do as a 19-year-old. So that was nice.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. I think they know each other, right?
Yeah, they're both born in Atlanta, different age groups, but yeah, they've trained and they know each other quite well.
Yeah, it's probably similar age gap between them as between me and my brother. So there's still opportunities to kind of cross over. And obviously, Coco's still in the tournament because she's in with Jessie Pegula, and they are the highest seeds remaining since the Czechs pulled out.
Yep. I think it would be, I don't know if I should say huge, but I think it'll be important if Coco tastes success at any level, whether it be doubles, mixed, or what have you. I think it'll be really interesting if she goes on to lift the doubles title at a major before she does singles, because a lot of good players have done the success in doubles then major success in singles thing.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm super excited for Goff and Pegula winning the doubles. If they do, I am really hoping for the day they win it. Or it's kind of between them and Leylah Fernandez and Taylor Townsend.
Are they on opposite sides of the draw?
I don't know. I need to check the ladies' doubles draw.
So one can hope. We can only hope.
I would hope for that as well.
I'd get a ticket for that.
I mean, is for me, it would be those two teams. I would want to see one of them winning it, and I can't decide which to support. Essentially,
I agree. I'd be happy with whoever wins in that situation.
Although as a Brit, I think people would probably think I should be supporting Nick Baines and Nia Lumsden, who are in the quarterfinals. Never mind about Townsend and Fernandez; they are out of the tournament.
Ew, they did lose. They lost to Garcia and Stefani. They did.
Yikes. Oh yeah, but they're still in the mix.
Not a bad loss, I guess.
No, that's a really good doubles pairing. Especially, I think Garcia's a slam champion. I don't know if Stefani is.
She's made her good runs. I'm not sure if she's a champion, but she's made good runs.
I think Townsend and Fernandez also had the mixed, because Townsend was partnered with Jamie Murray. This is
all. Did they lose today?
Yeah, they lost.
Ew.
Yeah, who did they lose to? Yeah.
We always have Eubanks.
They lost to Aravalo and Kostyuk 6-3 in the deciding set.
Sorry, I shouldn't have made that face.
I wasn't looking at your face.
Good.
Behave.
Hey, Jakob. Hope I said that right. I said that right? Yeah. Did I? Yes.
So yeah, I mean there's still some decent names in the mixed doubles left, and there's still British interest there as well. Ellen Perez is still going strong in the.
I like her.
Well. Yeah, she's partnered with Matt Ebden at the 5th seeds. But yeah, okay. So I am going to be spending this doubles tournament rooting for Goff and Pegula, but they've got a tough third round coming up against Siegmund and Zvonareva, the US.
It's only the third round of women's doubles.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So yeah, that's who they've got. But yeah, that's a tough draw for Goff and Pegula against Siegmund and Zvonareva.
Yeah, I would agree.
Shrihari asking me if it's cold. Honestly, just in my house.
It should always be cold in someone's house. I don't like hot houses.
I just have a very drafty house. Right. So we've talked a lot about we talked a lot about doubles. Although I do want to do one more thing. Is that Ghost thinks that Coco Gauff should stop playing doubles, and I do not understand that.
I think there should be a effort to try to level out how much she plays doubles, because she essentially is playing doubles at almost every single event she's playing singles at. And I'm not sure that's the best route to take if she wants to have the time to allocate to fixing the things that I think would take her from a top 10 player to more of a comfortable top 3 player. And playing doubles is good, and it definitely does affect certain parts of your game in a positive way, but I can also see how it can affect certain situations in your game negatively, especially when you are trying to fix something. If you don't have enough time away from the thing to fix it, you're going to continue that habit. And if she's continuing with the quote unquote wrong things to do in her forehand in doubles, it's only going to make it harder to change. So I see what Ghosty's saying.
Okay. I'm kind of seeing that overall doubles seems to be more and more benefiting a lot of players in the top 10, top 20, playing that alongside. So not just Goff, Pegula, Krejcikova, Ostapenko, Azarenka, Haddad, Maya seem to be able to balance it. So I'm interested to see whether that's a long-term trend.
The only thing is, with those names, all of them like have really good success. They just aren't lifting like the Grand Slam trophies in singles. I feel like that's what Coco should want to do.
Swiatek was early in her career, but then she dropped the doubles to try and focus more on singles.
And look what happened.
Yeah.
So
fair point. There's a lot of physical energy to do both.
There's evidence to sway both ways, to keep doing it as often as she's doing it and to like dial back some. So it's up to her. But I do think in general she'll dial back eventually, especially if she starts picking up majors. In doubles, she'll dial back to get that same success in singles. I would imagine it would only like wet her palate more to want to get that success in singles.
Maybe. All right, let's talk about the women's game, because we talked about all 4 men's singles. Let's continue moving from ladies doubles to ladies singles. And I think the obvious one to start with is on Jabeur beating Petra Kvitova way easier than we thought she was going to. I thought Kvitova looked off. I also thought Ons was being the master disruptor that we know she can be. And it was a little bit of both that factored into such a heavy defeat. But still, I thought it would be a little bit more competitive, especially as Ons got a bit nervous towards the end.
Right.
But that wasn't enough to let Kvitova back into it. I mean, what was your take on that match?
Usually how Kvitova starts these days is how she ends. So if she starts off rough, sometimes she can kind of right the ship, but the way her game is, she's very comfortable realizing that she's going to litter up the stat sheet and have errors sometimes. So it doesn't really sound off the alarm for her to change anything in her game the way it might for some other people. And I feel like that's kind of what happened in addition to her just not having a good day. And I also think like she's understanding and probably looking at the fact that, this is just my opinion, that she has more Wimbledons behind her than in front of her. So she probably thought this was a really good opportunity to get a third one if she kept playing the way she was playing. And that may have put more pressure on her to perform at that big stage than she actually was ready to or was capable of on the day. So I feel like it was a whole bunch of things that went into that score line, which I definitely didn't see coming, actually. Like, not at all.
Really? I thought it would come down to who was the more nervous.
Well, we saw who was nervous.
Yeah. Ghost is asking how Kvitova's movement was. And I didn't think it was good, to be honest. She did look a little sluggish to me. Maybe that's not something that you noticed or you might disagree with, but
no, I agree.
Yeah, it wasn't quite there today, and she made a lot of unforced errors. She really wasn't.
She had 13 in the first set, and it was only like 20 minutes, and that's not it's not a good ratio at all.
No. So yeah, Ons through to her 3rd consecutive Wimbledon quarterfinal. Ons on grass.
That's great. That's awesome, actually.
Yeah. Ons on grass we always knew was a force. That's why I ranked her really high, despite her lack of great grass court prep. On my pre-Wimbledon power ranking, which is actually not looking too bad at the minute. There's only 4 players out of the 10 left in the tournament, but they all rated pretty high. So yeah, I think
That's half of the quarterfinalists. That's not bad.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. I mean, I think I only correctly predicted 3 of them because I thought Kvitova would beat Jabeur, but it's just the way the draw worked out. But yeah, I only in my bracket, I only had 3 correct, but it was the 3 obvious ones.
Yeah.
And that says something.
I love that. Don't you love that we're getting like some obvious names being penciled into the second weeks of slams?
How good is this? Was the second round lineup? Was the fourth round lineup?
Very good. I enjoyed it. Mostly everybody. I think I put out a tweet that said in the round of 16, 11 women had been to a semifinal or better of a slam.
That is incredible.
That's really good. Yeah.
This tournament has really shown what a good depth of field can produce. And it has been really, really good matches. Maybe not so much today, apart from
the retirements and stuff didn't help.
Yeah, the retirements didn't help, and some players being really off. Let's talk about one of the retirements, which is Elena Rybakina going through against Beatrice Haddad-Maia. 4-1 retirement. Haddad-Maia injuring her back or her hip during the match.
I get it. It's hard.
It's there's not much we can really read into it. I think Rybakina probably would have won anyway. Just from how it was progressing, I felt like, okay, I think she can breach the Haddad-Maia defense with her aggression, with that, she's definitely firing this tournament, Rybakina. And I get the sense that her and Wimbledon have this excellent synergy going on right now.
I like it. I'm not mad at it. I think she is doing what she did last year at Wimbledon, which is just kind of silently making her way through the draw. And that might be from my perspective, because although when I do watch Rybakina, I am always more often than not pleasantly surprised at the amount of pace and depth and just effectiveness of her game. But at the same time, her name never jumps out to me on an order of play to actually watch her matches. So I don't really have that much information on what she's looked like outside of what the scores have been, which are efficient.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think Rybakina, I like watching her play, but I don't think I think she had a couple of matches that I thought could be interesting. I was interested to see whether Bolter could do anything against her. Turns out not much. But I think one of the things I'm wondering around though is, will this retirement mean Rybakina is going to go into this match against Jabeur a little bit cold?
And that's not what she should be in a match against Jabeur. But she does know that she's beaten her at Wimbledon literally 12 months ago. So we'll see how that factors in. But I think that's even better. That shows that the women's quarterfinal lineup is even better, because we're getting a rematch of the final weekend right before the actual final weekend again. So
it's happened for the second consecutive slam as well.
That a rematch has happened?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Final rematch.
Look at the WTA. Wow.
Come on, they're coming through. That's what I want to see. Yes, this is why we have WTA Weekly. I think it's going to be a good match. I'm really looking forward to that rematch, and I think there's enough uncertainty of which way it's going to go to make it interesting.
Yep. Elena just said Rybakina has such clean striking and good technique. Absolutely agree.
100% agreed. She's been, when I have watched her, it's been a joy to watch.
Yeah. She doesn't do I would give somebody her game, or I would, if a woman or a man actually that wanted to play tennis and was like, how do I do this seamlessly and have pace and power? You're like, oh, go watch Rybakina.
Yeah. What about, let's talk about probably the best women's match of the day. Madison Keys turning it around against Mirra Andreeva, which is not the narrative I thought we would be talking about, because I thought Madison Keys crushes Mirra Andreeva, and he didn't. Andreeva kept
I thought
up.
it was 50-50 that we would be talking about a Madison Keys win or a Madison Keys upset.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, is that because of Keys?
Yes. Usually all of the matches that Keys plays are right in her wheelhouse of if she's going to play well enough to win it or play bad enough to lose it.
Okay. I think, okay, so I appreciate that match probably started at like, what, 5 a.m. for you?
Yeah, and I was up. Look at that. Was I?
Oh.
Yeah, I was up.
I'm proud of you, Myles.
I've been getting great rest during this Wimbledon. Wonder if my bags are closing.
I'm proud of you, Myles. So, okay, here's my reading of the match. Keys came out firing, and I thought, oh, here we go. It's going to be a beatdown. Then Andreeva figured it out, was able to engage the defense, push it back, and then started moving. Just got everything Keys was throwing at her and started moving Keys around the court. Keys got frustrated, lost 7 games in a row, and could have been a lot worse. Took her about a set and a half to figure out a tactic that was going to stop Andreeva. But once she did and she stuck to it, Andreeva's plan B didn't quite work. So credit to Keys for recalibrating and turning that around, because I don't think Andreeva choked that. I think Keys turned that around.
You can tell by some of the stats too. She intentionally started going to the net more in the second set. Like I think she was up at the net closing away points over 20 times in the second set and was able to scrap that out. And I think that's good because I didn't realize how, I wouldn't say that Andreeva is defensive, but hasn't she made some like comments in interviews how Andy Murray's her favorite player?
Yeah, a lot.
I can see why she feels that way. She's crafty. She is not necessarily a person that can blast the ball like off the court. But
she just doesn't do it a lot.
Yep, that's Andy Murray-esque too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw it. There were probably some points in that match where she should have been more aggressive, and maybe she learns from that.
That's actually a really good point, because like there have been a lot of comments like trying to work out, oh, who's Andreeva like? And some people were saying Hingis, and some people were saying Selesh, and some people were saying Sharapova. And I was like, none of those quite match up.
No.
Andy Murray's the best one I've heard. And that makes a lot of sense.
She has guile, but you can tell that there's ability to rip it at the same time.
Yeah. And that's quintessential Murray. And I think that's a really dangerous for opponents. Like Andreeva's tennis IQ and maturity on a tennis court and fight, it means that like that's why she's so good so young. Is that she doesn't need to use power to win, which is great because she can only get more power. She, physically
can only get stronger. Right.
Yeah. But she's her tennis IQ is so high. She has so many options, but it's not like I don't know. I can't think of a female tennis player who had so many options she didn't know what to do with. That's more of a men's tennis thing, like a Kyrgios or a Bublik, or even Shapovalov, I think. I think that Andreeva is going to be a nightmare opponent for a lot of people, and for a lot of people for years, regardless of how her career progresses. She's going to be a name that you're going to see in your drawing and go, oh, that's going to be a grind.
Well, as long as she hasn't given away too many free points, it should be a grind, and free points with point penalties, it should be a grind.
Okay. I think that point penalty was harsh because I did not see what the first point penalty was for. That the first warning would have been for. I don't know what it was for, and I feel like that.
She chucked her racket. She literally the first warning was a clear chuck of the racket.
Oh yeah, and I was telling her off for that on the stream. I didn't realize she actually got a warning for it.
Yeah. Maybe she didn't either, but I felt like maybe she doesn't know that that's a clear warning, particularly at this tournament. Like if you throw your racket and it leaves on a grass court, it's almost a warning, and if you do it again, that's a point penalty. And I feel like because her attitude, and I don't know if anybody remembers this. I remember this pretty vividly from the Coco Golf match in the quarterfinals Roland Garros. But she has a way of like hitting the ball back to the ball kids, not in a like outright aggressive way, but in a kind of dismissive way. And I can see how if a chair umpire is keeping tabs of that, that can go under like the docket of unsportsmanlike conduct. And then at that what's the phrase? The point, I was thinking of a more fancy word, but the point before the match point, she slid, and it was clear as day that she slid and almost did like an ankle roll. But the fact that the racket came out of her hand again, and she screamed directly after, or like, you know, she was clearly frustrated afterwards. I can see how that paints a picture to the chair umpire of unsportsmanlike conduct again, hence the points penalty.
Yeah, I can see how the umpire saw that. My reading on looking at the TV replays was that one was an accident. So it was harsh. I don't think she was going to win the match anyway.
At that point, no.
But you know, she lives and learns, and she'll move on, and she's going to be she's now the new rising star of tennis. And I'm very, very excited to see what happens. Elena's saying that Ons has plenty of options. Ons does have options, but she knows which ones to use. I don't think she ever gets confused about which one. I very rarely see an option from Ons I think that's poor shot selection.
I can't agree with that one.
Really?
No.
On the last year or two.
I've seen some matches where I'm like, Ons, that didn't try again.
Okay. But generally Ons knows what to do with the options she's got.
If she's level-headed and thinking clearly, yes, I feel like she knows which tool to pull out of her belt, but it can be a little dicey sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Keys is through, and she's going to be playing some big babe tennis with Aryna Sabalenka in the quarterfinal. Sabalenka overpowering Ekaterina Alexandrova. For the first set, it was pretty even. Alexandrova held her own, but Sabalenka kept coming and coming and coming. And then it was just a beatdown after that.
Yeah. I kind of enjoy Sabalenka beatdowns. Sorry. I kind of enjoy them. I know that's not great for like a tennis analysis to enjoy watching somebody like across the net get completely picked apart. But Sabalenka has a way of doing it in a very enticing and entertaining way. I'm not quite sure what it is. Maybe it's the way she swings and the sounds that she makes and just her general persona that draws me in. But yeah, I was excited to see that she handled business in that match. Because Alexandrova is tough, especially on grass.
Definitely on grass. I mean, it was her fourth round, and she handled herself pretty well at that stage. I was seeing, do you know what? When I was looking back through brackets, trying to see how we were all doing, going into the quarterfinals, there were people who were picking her to reach the final.
I like chaos, but I don't think I like that level of chaos.
Not that level. Which is interesting. I mean, I'm frustrated. I screwed myself by picking Garcia to reach the final.
That was pretty. I mean, I can say this now because she's out of the tournament, but that was pretty bold.
It was pretty bold, but I felt that she had a run at it.
Do you still hold out hope that she's going to win a major?
Well, no, because I had her losing the final.
Okay, well, that's fair.
Rebecca there. Do I think she's going to win a major? I would not be surprised if she nicks one kind of in the next couple of years or so. But I think with the way the WTA is kind of going, it's going to get harder. So it might be unlikely.
I'd be surprised, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think she has had her opportunities twice now to be firmly in the top 5 and get some decent draws, and she hasn't really taken advantage of it. But then I don't know, because she might pull a Panetta or something like that, like in her 30s. Not sure.
That's possible. Elena's pointing out that Garcia was not in the top 10 in my power rankings. No, she wasn't, but I kind of put her as like the top honorable mention, and like it was between her and Vekic for the final spot. I kind of, in my mind, they were joint 10th. And when I was looking at the draw, I was like, I think Vekic might run out of gas. So
Elena was holding your foot to the fire there.
Yeah, but she's right to do that. But hey, you know what, we'll say that my draw picks probably didn't necessarily follow the power rankings exactly, but my overall winner still the same, still my top.
I don't even remember who I picked to be the winner on the women's draw. Actually, I mean, I think I picked Sabalenka.
Most people have picked Rybakina or Sabalenka. Vance has gone for Swiatek.
I hate that can't be a final. Darn it.
Yeah, I really wanted that to be the final. But Vance has gone for Swiatek, and there's about 3 people who've gone for Jabeur.
A Jabeur Swiatek final would be
Jabeur
fun.
winning it. Yeah, Swiatek final with Jabeur winning it. Or a Jabeur Vekic final with Jabeur winning it.
We were supposed to get a Jabeur and Swiatek match in Stuttgart, but we didn't really get the full thing because Jabeur retired. So I would like to see that.
Yeah, for sure. And that would have been a really good match, I think.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I think Vance is the only one who's actually gone for Swiatek to win it, the whole thing. But we'll have to see. But yeah, I'm still holding out for Rybakina winning it.
I like to see it. She would be the first person to repeat at a major since Swiatek.
Yeah. Never mind. Should we go with repeat at Wimbledon since Serena?
Yeah. Not bad company to be in.
No, not at all. So we've done our picks for. Obviously, we've gone through the matches that happened today. Before we move on to the order of play tomorrow, I just wanted to ask Myles. So, are we still?
I think John loves me being cheeky, allegedly, or apparently.
Oh yeah, so do I.
My mom wouldn't. She used to tell me I was very cheeky growing up, but not in like a very positive way.
Did your mom watch the podcast?
No, she's supportive, but not in the way of like listening, because she's not a tennis girl.
And in which case, you can be as cheeky as you want.
Yay.
So, before we go in, I think there's people who want us to make predictions for how the quarterfinals are going to go. We'll do the ones that are happening on Wednesday first, and then we'll look at the ones tomorrow. So, Keys Sabalenka. I guess we're on the same page in thinking Sabalenka's winning that. No.
It's one of my 51-49 situations. And I get a little bit of I got excited listening to Madison Keys talk about the prospect in her post-match immediate conversation after she won today. And she assured Mary Jo Fernandez at ESPN that she loves playing other big hitters. So regardless if it was Alexandrova or Sabalenka, she would enjoy it. And she also said that sometimes those matches come down to like a point here or there. And sometimes it goes your way and sometimes it doesn't. I would not be upset if that goes Madison Keys' way.
But how confident / nervous do you think Keys is right now?
She's only dropped one set, and that was the set in the match against Andreeva, and she didn't drop a set in Eastbourne. I feel like she should be very confident. I don't know what the head-to-head is against Sabalenka and Madison Keys, though. Dun, dun, dun.
I think I could look it up. But I don't disagree. And I certainly think if Sabalenka cracks, Keys on a good day is the kind of player who will exploit that. So I could totally see Keys pulling off an upset. She's kind of like, as I said, I think I've said before, she would definitely be a dark horse to win it right now. So yeah, I could see it. I think I'm kind of going down the way you were pre the Andreeva match of, I'm not sure whether Keys, sort of what Keys can do. Okay, this is an interesting head-to-head.
I just pulled it up too. Yeah, very interesting.
1-1. Keys, Sabalenka beat the Keys in 2018 in Cincinnati. Keys beat Sabalenka on grass in Berlin 2 years ago. in a 3-setter, and that was the year Sabalenka made this Wimbledon semis. So, okay, that might be a challenge for Aryna.
I think it'll be a challenge for both of them, especially because that last match they played was on grass and very tight. I think we should be strapping in for hard hitting and tight women's quarterfinal.
And I suspect the other quarterfinal that will be happening that day, Rybakina versus Jabeur, is going to be similarly tight. I think that's going to go free again.
If both are there and Jabeur is not nervous and choosing the right shots, that could be very tight. Yeah.
I'm still backing Rybakina overall to win it, though.
I can see that. Yeah, I'm with you.
Are you with me? Okay. Is it 51-49 confident or maybe more 60-40?
For Rybakina winning or in that match?
Rybakina winning.
I feel like it's 60.
winning that match. Yeah.
It's 60-40. Rybakina beating Jabeur. I'd pick her. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think we've got two brilliant women's quarterfinals happening on Wednesday, as we do on Tuesday.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes, tomorrow. I mean, I suppose before we do tomorrow, maybe, I mean, do we want to quickly, I'm going to quickly just say who I think is going to win the men's on Tuesday. I think it's probably going to be, Wednesday even. I think Medvedev's going to beat Eubanks in either 3 or 4 sets. And Alcaraz is going to beat Rune in 4.
Yes. Except I think Alcaraz is going to beat Rune in 5.
Okay.
And Medvedev is probably going to beat Eubanks in, my heart wants to say 4 sets, but my tennis mind is saying 3 sets and maybe 2 tiebreakers.
Okay. 2 tiebreak. Okay. Yeah. I was like, why are you saying 2 tiebreakers? It's best of 5. And then I realized there'll be 2 tiebreaks at some point. Like, Myles, remember how this is a grand slam. We are playing best of 5.
Oh, what if I live long enough to see best of 3 sets at Grand Slams? Oh, don't shoot me in the comments. Sorry.
That's not okay, tomorrow we have we've got 1 men's match and 1 women's match on both courts, which is nice to see. Opening center court at 1:30 p.m. Swiatek and Svitolina, which is the obvious one to put on, I think. That I think that could be interesting. I think Svitolina's defense could frustrate Swiatek on grass. On paper, Swiatek should still be able to hit through her.
Yep.
But maybe that surface difference, as we kind of saw with Bencic, might make things a little bit more complicated.
I don't know. There's something about women saving match points at a major that gives them an extra boost of confidence. I know it would give me an extra boost of confidence. And although Svitolina is playing more aggressively, I'm not sure she's playing aggressively enough to withstand what Swiatek is going to bring in that match. So I'm thinking Swiatek in 2.
Yeah, I probably agree with that, actually. And I agree with your reasoning, actually, that, saving match points generally gives you a boost for at least a match or 2. And Swiatek does not need a boost to win. Really. So, I think Swiatek, I agree with you there. Swiatek should win that match. I wouldn't be massively surprised if Svitolina won it, but
I would.
Okay.
That probably would be the shock of the tournament for me, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't Svitolina still unseeded?
Yeah, she is.
I mean, it would be an unseeded player beating the world number 1.
That's a fair point.
On paper, yeah. But we know Svitolina's been way better than where she's ranked. So
that is true. Although, is she playing? She's playing, like, tennis aficionados, no, it wouldn't be that much of a shock. But maybe you're right. I don't know. But I have to put some element of jeopardy in there, especially to give Ghost some hope that Swiatek might lose.
Ghosty, you don't want to see Swiatek win at all?
Ghosty does not like Swiatek. He finds her boring.
I don't find her the most entertaining in the world, but I also don't find her the most boring in the world, like some other world number 1s. So,
yeah. I'm basically just, I think her tennis is fantastic, regardless of the personality. And then the second match on center is Andrei Rublev against Novak Djokovic.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at the juxtaposition between Svitolina and Swiatek in this picture.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, I completely misheard you. What did you say?
I was moving on to the second match on center, which is Rublev versus Djokovic. I mean, I can understand why you'd rather just sort of chuckle and pretend that match isn't happening.
Oh no, I honestly, I honestly didn't hear you. I think it's safe to say that Novak Djokovic is going to win that one for sure.
Okay, so we think that, I think that's probably likely, especially since he's probably had a little bit of a dip against Kurkacz, and Rublev typically isn't a challenge for him.
Unfortunately,
unless he's gassed, which I don't think he is. So
he's playing with the circle of Iron Man. Djokovic is. So why would he be gassed?
Still, fair. I don't want to talk about that. That's I'm not getting into the pseudoscience debate.
That's so his lane. I love it for him.
Yeah. I mean, look, if the placebo effect is enough, then there you go. But yeah, okay, we're expecting Djokovic to come through that fairly comfortably. Maybe then, in terms of competition, the court one lineup is interesting. It starts with Jessica Pegula against Marketa Vondrousova.
Yeah. Marketa is somebody that I've had on my radar to do some interesting things. Just did not think they would happen now and on grass. So this is interesting. If Pegula wants to make a major semi, I'm not sure what else she's gonna want the draw gods to give her to make that happen for her.
Yeah, I'm with you there. This has been almost a dream draw for Pegula, who is someone I thought she was going to lose to Ekaterina Siniakova in round 4, but Siniakova had issues in round 2 and lost. So yeah, I clearly didn't believe enough in Pegula, and I was wrong. And I think it's going to be an intriguing match. I think what's going to make the difference is that although Marketa Vondrousova has been playing some very tricky tennis, and I think Pegula could come unstuck against it.
That's a great phrase to describe what happens to Pegula. Great job, because I don't understand what happens to her sometimes in these big matches. She becomes unstuck. Great job.
Yeah, thank you. I think Vondrousova might be gassed. She looked exhausted after that loss to that win over Bushkova, and I don't think she's still in the doubles. I think she might be. She definitely played doubles today. I think she might run out of energy during that match, and Pegula's consistent hitting is gonna make that difficult for her. If she
are you saying she's gonna run out of gas because you've seen her matches? Like, because I can honestly say I haven't even seen her swing her racket this tournament.
I watched her beat Bushkova. That was a good match. I've seen most of her matches actually.
Oh,
she was definitely tired against Bushkova at the end of it. I thought that Bushkova was going to win it.
She has a slight, I wouldn't say attitude problem, because maybe that sounds more harsh. But yes, Vondrousova. From the matches I've seen of her and like how I view her in my head in the long catalog I have of tennis players, she can get a little impatient. That's the word I was trying to land on. She can get very impatient, and Pegula is not who you want to be impatient with. So,
okay. There you go. I have seen Vondrousova's matches because I marked them down as really interesting. So her round 2 against Kudermetova.
That's a big win for her.
Yeah, outplayed her, outcrafted her. Donna Vekic did something similar. I think Vekic had a very slow start and then couldn't get back into it in the same way she did against Stevens. So yeah, Vondrousova's had a tough draw to get through, which is another reason why I think the only person she's dropped a set to was Bushkova. So it's tough. I think it's doable against Pegula, but I do think Pegula will have more energy, more confidence. And I was impressed by Pegula. Usually beats who she's supposed to beat, but she's been doing it rather emphatically, with the exception of Lauren Davis in the first round.
I think that match actually gave her the jolt she needed early enough in the tournament to kind of really focus in and take everybody as seriously as they need to be taken. So, yeah. Again, if Pegula wants to see the last four of a major, this is your shot, baby girl. This is it.
So based on our predictions, we could have the top 4 seeds locking out the semi-finals in the women's draw, which, when was the last time that happened? I'm going to have to look it up.
I feel like every couple of years, or excuse me, not every couple of years, I feel like every major at least, there's one unseeded or very low seeded semifinalist. And that's been that way in the trend every major, regardless of surface. So I have no idea when the last time all 4 were the top 4 seeds.
I'll look it up and I'll let you know.
Okay.
I've got a database I can look at.
Does John not like Pegula?
But John is convinced Vondrousova is winning this.
I see.
I mean, I would also say that Pegula is definitely winning this if John is predicting Vondrousova to win.
That's funny.
The curse of Nostradamus is real. Which means the other singles match that's happening tomorrow is Yannick Sinner versus Roman Safiullin.
I think I made a comment that Roman Safiullin, if he wanted to see a quarterfinal, Denis Shapovalov is who he should beat. Well, and he beat him in 4 sets. So hey,
yeah. So there we go. I mean, Safiullin. I think Shapovalov was injured.
He was. What was his injury?
Knee, I think.
That tracks. Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah, he was definitely limping towards the end of that match. And Safiullin also had a good win against RBA, which I didn't see coming. Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for him. He's hitting big enough that if Yannick Sinner is nervous because he knows he should win, that could cause him problems.
Well, there's 2 people going for their first Grand Slam semifinal, and it's not just Pegula; it's also Yannick Sinner.
Yeah.
And if he wants a Grand Slam quarterfinal, this is his. A Grand Slam semifinal, this is his shot.
Yeah, and if he gets to the Grand Slam semifinal, he'll finally be the underdog.
Because it would be against Djokovic, he can kind of swing freely. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and we know that he caused Djokovic some headaches last year at Wimbledon.
Not enough, but a headache. Yeah. Maybe we need somebody to cause Djokovic a migraine in the frontal lobe.
Sinner could do that. I think probably wouldn't see that until he got to the final and Djokovic gets to the final, where it's probably Alcaraz or Medvedev or Rune. No offense to Eubanks.
None taken for the Eubanks fans. Sorry.
Okay, Elena's confirming Shapovalov had a knee injury as well. Okay, so there you go. That's our singles preview. I appreciate you probably don't have it in front of you. We've talked a little bit about the doubles. I would say there's some decent doubles action happening as well. If you want to look at it, mainly in the women. No, there's a couple ones. So number 2 court has got Jamie Murray and Michael Venus against Hugo Nys and Zelensky, the 4th seeds. Caroline Garcia and Luisa Stefania playing Sue Wei Shea and Barbora Strycova. That's got at least 3 Grand Slam champions in doubles in it. Koolhof and Skupski playing Purcell Thompson on number 3 court.
I love their doubles name. Like, their names go really well together.
Koolhof and Skupski.
Yep.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Johnny O'Mara and Olivia Nichols from Great Britain will be taking on Matt Ebden and Ellen Perez in the mixed doubles quarterfinals in the last match on court 12. I'm just looking through now. The invitation doubles has started, and I know Jake, if he's still in the chat, was very excited about the lineups. Certainly, if you have a grounds pass, it's a great opportunity to go and see some legendary names in action, even that maybe you didn't quite get the opportunity to see before.
Does the US Open not do this?
The invitation doubles?
Yeah.
I thought they did.
Maybe I'm just not there long enough to get that, to see that, because I was wondering if I was on the grounds, would I actually go to an invitation doubles match?
Is there a player that you'd want to go see who's like retired now? Like if you go, oh, they're playing in an invitation doubles match, I'll go check them out.
I'm looking at the list here, and unfortunately, I think the answer is no.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot of names that Jake was excited about.
You know what? I see Petkovic playing, and I've always had a soft spot for Andrea Petkovic, and she's playing with Magdalena Rybarikova. So maybe.
Yeah. But there you go.
Oh, and James Blake is playing. So yes, if I had tickets, I probably would go check them out. And Li Na? What?
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I changed my answer to yes.
Yeah, I think if you had a grounds pass, you'd probably go and go watch them, right? Because you've got a ticket.
Why not? I mean, they might be moving way slower than what I remember, but why not?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that about wraps it up for the Last Ball Drops show. Absolutely brilliant to have you on as always, Myles. It's always great to have a cheeky chat with you.
A cheeky chat. John, write that down, and that might be a new segment of Talking Tennis. Cheeky chats with Myles.
You're not supposed to see that. Nothing to see here. Well, this is it's been absolutely brilliant having you on, Myles. Thank you so much.
Always.
And this has been brilliant. It's been brilliant chatting to you over the course of Wimbledon. If I don't get to do this again, and thanks everyone for joining. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Give the video a like so other people on YouTube can find it and hear our thoughts on today's action. And we'll be back for coverage of the quarterfinals tomorrow. I'm going to be covering Djokovic versus Rublev. John will be covering the women's quarterfinals. It's going to be a good time. And then, of course, the last ball will drop on center and number one. And that means that this show will be on the air. And I just want to look up who it's going to be.
I'll be making cheeky tweets on the timeline in the meantime during all of these matches.
Jack Edward and Jakub doing tomorrow. So
fun.
That's a great lineup you've got for Last Ball Drops tomorrow. But yeah, definitely keep checking us out for more Wimbledon content coming your way as the championship goes into.
I don't want it to end. It's probably one of my favorite ones. It's my favorite one of the decade. We've only had 3, but this is my favorite one.
I think this has definitely been the best Wimbledon this decade. I would agree with you.
Yep.
All right. And on that positive note, thank you all much for joining. See you later and keep talking tennis.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.